financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is financial problems to address. Coming out of COVID, got issues, things to look at. Brian Small, good morning.
Good morning, Ken. Always a pleasure to be here.
Jeffrey Linden.
Good morning, Ken.
Pat Samasco.
I'm surprised you let me back after I ruled so hard against you in the last show.
Well, the thing about a judge is there's always the next case. You'll have a chance. There'll be a time where you have a chance to redeem yourself, Your Honor, and then you'll be running for re-election and you'll be coming around looking for contributions.
So the rule is...
Now, the Judicial Tenure Commission has removed him from office.
Better to know the judge than it is to know the law?
It never hurts to be on good terms with the judge.
That's the rule. It never hurts.
It's not necessarily
it doesn't help you, but it never hurts.
See, and
you.
I always thought the theory was when you're losing, argue louder. So
if you got the facts, argue the facts. If
No,
you got the
here's
law,
what-
argue
Wait
the
a
law.
second.
Being
If
on
your
good terms
theory's
with the judge
been
does something.
wait, if Brian's theory's been when you're losing,
It
argue
works.
louder. He must be losing a lot because you're always arguing loud.
you know what?
It's
I
an
always
important
win.
point in a case.
Thank you.
If your lawyer has good rapport with the judge, it's important because if you have a bad case, if the judge respects you and knows that you have integrity, they will listen to you.
Yeah,
And
you do
might
get the benefit
something
of the
done.
doubt. You might not win,
Yeah.
but at least you get heard.
We do that with Medicaid planning. That happened yesterday with the Medicaid worker. Is that we had them on an issue, but we're super nice to them. We let them off the hook. They just did the right thing. Because the next time we may have an issue that they're going to be nice to us. So you get way more with honey than vinegar.
Yeah, you have to. I
Absolutely.
mean, you have to get. You have to.
Yeah.
Going to war is always there's a bad consequence always to war. Whether it's
Long
even if you
lasting.
win it, it can be a
Yeah.
bad consequence on the road. So you got to measure your conduct accordingly. All right, couple issues. Your mortgage deferral is up.
So the 12 months that you took in a deferral, 6 months at a time is up, and now your mortgage payments are due.
Options. Here's what's going to happen. The lender may say, we'll give you a short period of time to catch up. We may say, we'll tack the arrearage onto the loan. They may say, we'll re-amortize your loan over the current term, or they may extend the term, or they may say, you got 6 months to come up with the money. We don't know. Now, interesting thing. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, which if you remember, the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau before the Trump administration was the backbone of support for the consumer, hammering the banking industry, Reg X, all sorts of things to prevent foreclosure. They did a great job. And then the Trump administration came in and they appointed Mick Mulvaney, if you remember, to take over and head the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau. And
He brought
donuts.
Donuts.
And the moral of the story then was donuts do not always mean a good future. But what I don't know, because I thought about the donut story, is I'm going to have to research. The new acting head of the CFPB, did he bring donuts the first day? That I don't know. I have to find out.
We should call.
But they issued a proclamation on April 1st indicating a warning to the lenders. You need to be prepared, and don't you dare think that we're going to allow you to start kicking people out ad hoc. You need to have a program, and you need to be prepared, and you need to have a bona fide way of handling this problem.
See,
You know,
this
that
is a good sign. This is a good sign.
It's a
for
good sign
consumers.
for certain people because there's a certain group of people that entered into the deferrals, and there's a giant group of people that didn't enter into deferrals, who are just not paying their mortgages. And there are no foreclosures right now, but after June the 30th, there will be foreclosures. And so that it's not going to be the tsunami that was expected, but there's going to be a substantial number of people that are going to face
it'll be
foreclosure.
a mini tsunami.
Let me make a point on that, because that's really interesting. The Biden administration who sent that out, right? Was that a directive through the Biden executive?
Well, through the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau.
So there was an executive order dealing with Medicaid office that says that any government agency that's trying to restrict people from getting Medicaid should be turned into the Attorney General's office to go after them. So they're very much behind the people and getting the benefits.
In the situation. So there's positive that way. But go back to Brian. All right. So if you're facing foreclosure, what do you do?
Well, all right, so what are your options?
How do you stop it?
You can, A, look to see if you can get a loan modification, which is still a viable opportunity, and we assist people with that every day. You can file Chapter 13 bankruptcy, restructure that arrearage and spread it out over 5 years. That arrearage is going to include all your past due mortgage payments. It's going to be paid back at 0% interest, and on top of it, where we're seeing a lot of big problems is people that haven't paid their property taxes. Well, the property taxing authorities are going to start foreclosing on your unpaid property taxes starting next January, February, March when they do the normal foreclosures. If you're not paying, there's a magic money there to go get. You have to restructure your loan and restructure the taxes and pay it back over time.
So
Chapter 13.
Real critical is if you are facing foreclosure, the lender's not working with you, you need to file that Chapter 13 before the sale date on the foreclosure.
You could also sue in circuit court if you wanted to, but it's not a real practical option.
It's financially impractical because you're short on cash. You can't afford to hire an attorney. It's going to be $5,000 to try and have an injunctive hearing to stop the foreclosure, and you really don't have a lot of grounds. Chapter 13
and if you got a
allows you to
judge,
stop
man, you ain't going
If
nowhere.
you have a judge like Judge Samasco, you would never get away with that.
The question I have, and I was sort of following this, is the rooster coming home to roost right now? The whole year people put their head in the sand. Nothing's been going on. Is it going to start heating up where you see the evictions and you see the foreclosure?
You don't see it yet, but you're going.
It's got to happen.
It's going to heat up, and as we emerge from the pandemic, sympathies fall away because people forget very quickly. People have short-term memories.
I think it's when we hit like 5.5% unemployment. I think that's like a target in my mind. The spigot's going to be open. Foreclosures are going to be allowed. Evictions are going to be allowed. And there's going to be a lot of help needed for people out there.
All right, we'll take a break and we'll come back and we'll stay on this. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We were here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
You're all set to retire. You have your home paid off, money in the bank, and sound investments. But if you're not careful, all the things that you work so hard for can disappear. At Samasco Financial, we'll help you prevent that. We go beyond ordinary asset management. We'll safeguard everything that you have by creating a plan made specifically for you. How much can you afford to lose? Nothing. Protect the people that you love and the things that you have. Call Samasco Financial today.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled. Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV Gross specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV Gross. Our firm will solve your problem. All right, we're back. So we talked about mortgage forbearance. Let's talk about eviction moratorium. Right now, the CDC extended the eviction moratorium. It was expiring March 31. It now is running to June 30th. What does it do? It prohibits a landlord from evicting a tenant, residential only, and the tenant must fill out an affidavit and submit it to the landlord attesting that if you're single, your anticipated income is less than $98,000. If you're married, less than $198,000.
That's an important point, Ken, because the landlord doesn't have to give you this affidavit. The tenant has to know this and they have to go get it. The landlord can start an eviction. You can get all the way to a trial on an eviction
Until you show up with the
get that affidavit.
So you need to. So if you're the tenant in that situation, you need to know that.
Yeah, but there's a practical reality that's going on here is that evictions really aren't happening at the moment in the courts. They're
Well,
piled
they are
up.
on commercial.
Yes, but they're piling up on the.
And the rent's piling up, the arrearages is
and they're
piling
not
up, too.
happening. And the problem is you've got this balance of, is it fair to the landlord who's not getting any money?
Who also has a mortgage on the property.
Yeah.
Which, in fact, I remember hearing that argument.
Well, Ken, I got to throw this at some though. You are in, and I'm going to talk personal with you. You're in a really unique situation because you're a tenant in your office building here, but you're also a landlord too because you sublet out offices to other lawyers, right?
Yes.
Have you given them breaks and not getting breaks from your landlord, or is it all sort of? If everybody just pulls the record needle off the record and stops, but everybody's got it. The landlord has to stop. The tenant.
We received no break from the landlord. We paid our rent, and the tenants have paid their rent.
And if they didn't, what would you do?
I would deal with it if the tenant really. Most of my tenants are lawyers, and they're also friends. And if a friend had a problem, as long as I thought that I could work through it, I certainly would do that anyway. But in our industry, lawyers received PPP loans back in from the first wave anyway, which we used our PPP loan to cover our rent expense to the landlord and our payroll. That helped us.
That was reserved for.
And I made sure and said to my subtenants, as well as I said to all my clients, you may have to make sure you're aware of the PPP loan and you have to go after and get it so you have cash flow. And that's the same thing with the employee retention credit
What's your
as well.
thoughts when, now that everybody's doing so many Zoom meetings and Zoom appointments and Zoom hearings and the need for office space, do you think people are going to be renegotiating?
Haven't seen that, but the environment's changing. First of all, Metro Detroit has had a glut of office space for 10 years. Right. So this is going to add to that problem for landlords.
My satellite office in the last year, right around the corner from here, 25 cars in the parking lot, and there used to be 5,000 cars.
You know what? Here's the thing.
There
is a group of people that are very comfortable having Zoom meetings and Zoom appointments, and there's an entire generation of people age 60 and above who Some are capable and some aren't. They have computer skills, they don't have computer skills. They have a scanner at home, they don't. Their grandchild has to help them with the scanner. I have a whole group of clients that don't have the ability to have an appointment other than in person.
Right.
Yeah, many of my tax clients are in the same.
I also
Yeah.
find for me it's easy. I can work at home. I can work in the office. I'm very mobile that way. My kids are grown. They're not in the house. When I'm talking to young lawyers, they're at their offices. Why? Because they need the quiet of an office.
They need the
as opposed to being at
mentorship
home.
too in the
and
office.
you need mentorship, absolutely. And we all need that as lawyers. It's nice to be able to bounce ideas off and so forth. So I see the environment's always going to be different. Out of COVID, there'll be gains and benefits that we've learned. The use of Zoom hearings for the courts, for discovery motions, and for status conferences, I hope that stays in place. To me, the biggest
will.
travesty was driving a half hour to court, waiting an hour and a half for your hearing, having a 3-minute hearing, and then driving another half hour back to the office is a 3.5 hour bill to a client for a 5-minute conference.
Yeah.
If you do it on a Zoom conference, it's a 5-minute bill to the client.
Yeah.
So there's a tremendous saving of resources if that happens. Those are good things. And being able to work mobily is good, but the office environment I don't think will die. I think, in fact, Google's calling back their, calling back their staff and saying, back to work. Productivity tends to be better in a supervised environment.
You know what, they say that, but the reality is productivity is better, and there's a loss of productivity, but your day's extended. Because you start working at 6 in the morning, you work till 10 at night because you're up, you're working, you're on your computer.
It varies for everybody. I've calculated it this way. When I stay home in a week, I gain 10 hours of time. Drive time. And my lunch at the office is basically an hour. Lunch at home is 7 minutes.
Right.
And it's usually I grab the sandwich
And he
put
is
it on my
the
desk.
fastest eater on the planet.
Oh, I could beat him.
I'd like to see that.
So just
You'd
a
be in my rearview
little bit
mirror.
more. So back to here's the most important thing that you should know if you're a tenant. When the moratorium ends, you're going to face eviction, and there's not going to be relief to say you get an extra year to pay the rent. The state does have some funds available. You want to go to michigan.gov/MSHA to see if you can qualify. It's based upon the county you live in, income, and so forth of how much rent relief you can get. But other than that, you're going to need to pay the landlord and make a deal. So if you have funds, we've been saying it all along, you should work to get current on rent. It's more critical than the mortgage. The mortgage is going to provide you some relief. Brian can always buy you 5 years through a Chapter 13 if the landlord won't work with you.
Well, no,
you
can't. No, you have through in Chapter 13 till the end of your lease. So
I know that's what I said. On a mortgage, you can buy 5 years.
On a mortgage, yeah, absolutely 5 years.
On a lease, you don't get the benefit of the Chapter 13. That's why I'm saying you want to catch up on the rent if you're in a tenant mode. We'll be back after the break.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
I love you too. Bye-bye. That was Jerry. Emma just said her first word.
Oh.
Jerry says hello and they'll be over soon.
Who's Jerry? Is he a friend of yours?
No. This Jerry. Our Jerry. And this is his wife and their little girl.
Time for announcements. I want to remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sunday 7 o'clock a.m. We've got webinars coming up on May 5th this year at 6 o'clock p.m. You need an estate plan. Stop saying it and just do it. This is going to be an estate plan that covers the basics of what you need in order to put your estate plan in order. You have to realize there are two aspects to an estate plan. While you're living, you need the durable power of attorney and the healthcare power, and to cover your death, you need a revocable living trust that takes care of the disposition of your assets and also has adequate protections for your children and your spouse in case there's creditor issues. You don't want to miss this. Sign up at thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, or call 888-235-HELP. It'll be a Zoom webinar. You can attend and watch it from home or on your cell phone. Remember, it's at 6 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, May 5th. And then anytime you can go to our website and watch our free webinar on financial issues. It is called How to Eliminate Your Debt and Get a Fresh Start and Live Debt-Free. Remember, to be free, you must be debt-free. We talk about all the methods we use to address debt. Solutions using bankruptcy, solutions outside of bankruptcy. There's a special segment for small businesses facing debt and foreclosure and closure issues. You want to learn your available options with regard to bankruptcy and outside of bankruptcy. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. You just fill out a form and we send the book to you after you've watched the webinar. Also, we have free consultations. You can come into the office now with social distancing and masks, or we can do a teleconference or a video conference from your home. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, criminal law issues with Scott Weinberg. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. Also, go to the website. There's free reports. There's one on tax problems, how to save your home from foreclosure, forming businesses and loans and grants for businesses in Detroit, and Pat Simasko's Retiree's Guide to Social Security. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Simasko Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
All right, we're back. So, Brian, I didn't catch up on my rent. I'm facing eviction. What can you do for me?
Well, first of all,
Can I file bankruptcy?
you can if you qualify. I mean, what does a bankruptcy do for you? From a standpoint of a Chapter 7, it's going to eliminate the past due rent that you owe and at least get you a fresh start. It also, under a section of the bankruptcy code, could be conceivably even buy you an additional 60 days in the property. So that giving you time to at least structure and reorganize and get yourself out.
60 days before the landlord can go forward with the eviction?
No, 60 days after the eviction judgment has been granted, you might be able to gain 60 extra days under the statute of limitations.
So if I haven't been evicted yet and I file before the eviction hearing, then where am I at?
So it all has to do with whether or not there's a judgment.
There's no judgment. I haven't been evicted.
So then it'll buy time. First of all, the landlord has to seek relief from the court.
How long does that take?
Typically 30 to 60 days.
Are you able to stall that process out as the debtor's attorney?
You can. No. I mean, the hearing has to be held within 30 days of the date the motion is filed.
So it takes them about 30 days to file the
Yeah,
But
the
it's going to
lawyer
take, by the
agrees to
time
it.
you file the...
Which they won't.
You file the bankruptcy, by the time they get the notice and they get their act together to take... It's a 60-day block of time.
All right, so here, let me put that in perspective. So if you're going to face eviction and you have it, and the case has been filed against you, but they don't have a judgment for possession, and you also have other debts that would be good to discharge and get rid of, you file the bankruptcy.
Correct.
You now, it stops the eviction process. You're going to discharge all the debts in the bankruptcy. The landlord has to go in and get relief from the stay. He gets relief from the stay in that 30 to 60 day period. Now he goes forward and continues his eviction process.
But he can't get any money damages against
At
you.
the eviction hearing, you hire an attorney, you show up, and you say, we're going to demand a jury trial. And you then, which you're entitled to, the court can condition the jury trial that you pay current rent, but not the rent in arrears. They're not doing jury trials right now, so that will buy you more time on a crowded docket because there's going to be all these evictions that are starting to get
But you're
caught
still
up.
paying rent, or they evict
You're paying
you.
current rent, but not the arrearage.
Right.
And it gives you time before you get into a new place. And during that period, you have the opportunity to do what? It starts with an N.
Negotiate.
Negotiate. Landlords don't want vacant property. They want rent. So if at the end of the day you establish that you're paying current rent again, that landlord's going to have to make a decision. Do I really want to throw him out? I'm not going to collect the rent from him anyway because he's going to discharge it in bankruptcy. To find a new tenant who's going to pay me the same rent? Or maybe I should just live with this guy now that he's paying me the current rent.
And don't
think there's no strategy to play to stay there, but you have to think, you got to be ahead of the game. You got to think outside the box and use the psychology to get there.
And don't forget, right now, there's all this federal money that's being infused to the states to help assist with rental relief. The problem is the states don't have the programs really up and running yet. It's kind of like, go back to, remember when the Home Affordable Modification Program came out and it took them 2 years to even get footing on getting people
To figure out how to
modified?
modify a mortgage.
But once they did, it rolled. Well, the same thing's going to happen here with the rent relief. You're going to be able to get 80 to 90% of your unpaid rents through these programs as a landlord if you work with your tenant versus getting nothing.
So there's a diligence thing there where you've got to get up to speed on those programs. And that's where go to michigan.gov/MISHTA and start reading on that. And if the people that pursue those things get the relief, there's another segment that says, you don't like to do the research, you don't like to dig, and you just kind of lay back. Those people are going to get evicted. But if you're diligent about the process, there is, in my view, there's a psychology that will work. Because if you remember this thing, if you can show that landlord you're going to pay him the rent in the future, how's he going to? What's his benefit by getting rid of you? I don't see it. And I'm giving you the business thought process of the landlord as well as the business thought
The
process
landlord
of the
needs to be
tenant.
diligent too, because you have a lot of mom and pop landlords too. So they got to know that those programs are available.
Absolutely.
And they
Absolutely, and
don't.
they got to help their tenants
Yeah,
apply for
it's
the
not like a
programs.
conglomerate. It's a mom and pop.
Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality.